everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us is your editor-in-chief for AMC Movie News, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also, here's AMC production manager, Dennis Sen.
I want to thank the whole AMC Movie Talk crew here for helping me celebrate my birthday, bringing in cookies and cupcakes and donuts and all that stuff.
We're all sick.
And I want to thank everyone on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff for thanking me, wishing me a happy birthday.
And writer-director, John Schnepp.
Hey, I wore the T-shirt in honor of John Campea's last day on AMC Movie Talk, and, you know.
Yeah,
Godspeed,
it's a good
sir.
shirt. And hey, before we get going, too, I almost forgot. I got a little something. This isn't anything big. I got a little something here for Dennis since it's his birthday. I got him a bottle of Three-Eyed Raven Game of Thrones beer.
Thank
This is a big bottle of beer with the Game of Thrones. So he's a fan of both Game of Thrones and beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John.
Oh, I almost forgot. Anne made me get, Anne who's here today too, Anne made me get you a card.
That's right.
It's dumb. It's a dumb card, but man, did she laugh her ass off when she was reading it.
Open it. Open it.
Yeah, go ahead, open it.
Okay.
It's like she was laughing her ass off.
Let's see here.
Oh
my God.
It's a bunch of panda bears dancing, or a bunch of pigs dancing Gangnam style. But open up and see what it reads.
It's your birthday. Celebrate gang ham style.
Oh!
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anne.
All right, so I guess let's get this thing rolling.
All right, so it looks like Pixels isn't the only movie on the way celebrating the old video games of the 80s. According to Deadline, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to star in a live-action version of Rampage. The original Rampage put players in control of one of three monsters: a giant ape named George, a giant lizard named Lizzie, or a giant wolf named Ralph. The game saw the monsters running amok across the United States, fighting the military and destroying key landmarks. John, what do you think about a live-action version of Rampage starring The Rock?
Oh my God. It so depends on the tone they want this thing to have, right? If they want to go a Pixels kind of tone, no. If they want to go like a hybrid between like a Pixels tone and a Godzilla tone, where it's like, no, these are like three scientific experiments that have now gone amok and we got to bring these things down, but also wink a little bit at the camera here and there. That could be really good. Having The Rock in there, this seems like the type of film that would be good for him. He would be a good fit for something like this. Once again, it's so hard to say without knowing the tone. If you try to go pure Godzilla tone, make it dark and serious, not going to work. You try to go Pixels Rel, where it's all just like silly and goofball-y, I don't think it's going to work. A hybrid between the two could. So we're just going to have to wait to see what they think about it. Anyway, Dennis, what do you think?
Oh, I love it. I love the game. When I was a kid, I always used to go to the arcade and play. It was a co-op game. You could play any of the three guys. It was like being able to play King Kong or Godzilla or any of those guys.
Right.
And I think with The Rock, we just saw him lead a movie about like things getting destroyed that didn't really have a story. So that's what I'm assuming this is going to be. And I think it's gonna be a good movie if they do what you're saying about the tone. With like if they do a Pacific Rim type of thing, I think they could do well.
Oh, that's a better analogy. And there was a story to San Andreas. It was Alexander Daddario's bikini. That was the story of the movie. Anyway,
I think it's a great idea. I love the game Rampage. I used to play it all the time. I like to be the ape or Godzilla. The wolf guy was my least favorite. But the best thing about this is you're basically destroying buildings and eating people. And that's the entire game. You're just climbing and smashing buildings and punching them and jumping from building to building. And that's the whole game. So if The Rock is one of these three creatures, because you get transported back, you turn into a little human before you die. So I'm imagining that I could see this as War of the Gargantuas, and you have them doing suplex jumps off of buildings. I mean, you could like have three characters fighting each other. It could be a giant, really fun film. So.
See, that's interesting because my assumption has been The Rock will be the hero out to stop the monsters, but you're right. I mean, there is a possibility here. He could be one of the monsters.
They could bring two other big action stars in, and they transform into monsters and just destroy cities.
Oh my! The Rock, Jason Statham, and I don't know some other action
Statham,
star.
because in Crank 2, remember, he was already a giant version of himself.
Yeah,
smacking
and
cities, so.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. There you go. There are your three monsters. But you know the way you described it too, about you get to run around and eat people, destroy stuff. It reminds me. What's the big video game franchise where you get out of your car and you can beat up people and steal their
Grand
cars?
Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's right. This is the Godfather of
Yeah,
Grand
it
Theft
really
Auto.
is.
This is the beginning of Grand Theft Auto. All right, what's next?
A new trailer for the upcoming Zach Galifianakis comedy Masterminds has just hit the web. Directed by Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre director Jared Hess, the comedy follows David Gant, played by Galifianakis, who discovers the true meaning of adventure far beyond his wildest dreams. He is an uncomplicated man stuck in a monotonous life. Day in and day out, he drives an armored vehicle, transporting millions of other people's money with no escape in sight. The only glimmer of excitement is his flirtatious work crush, Kelly Campbell, played by Kristen Wiig, who soon lures him into the scheme of a lifetime. The film also stars Owen Wilson and Jason Sudeikis and opens in AMC theaters on August 7th. Schnepp, what did you think of the new trailer for Masterminds?
I really liked it. I mean, you know, it's like Zach Galifianakis is a very certain flavor, but, you know, if you watch him through a film, every film he's been in, I always laugh. And like right when this trailer started, I was like, him with a page boy haircut. And then then the more you're watching him and do stupid stuff, the funnier it is. I think Kristen Wiig is fantastic. So this trailer was the one that sold it for me. It just looks just stupid enough that I want to see it.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, my appreciation for Zach Galifianakis went to another level after seeing him in Birdman.
Totally.
After seeing what he did in Birdman, because I remember he first popped up in Birdman. I'm like, this isn't going to feel right in this movie, but he killed it. He absolutely killed it. I am not thrilled with this trailer. I much preferred the original one, actually. I like the original one more. I'm looking forward to this movie. The first trailer sold me on it. The problem is, I think with this new trailer, the best parts of this trailer I found were already in the first one. That shot where they're talking to Jason Sudeikis, who plays a hitman, and they say, he says, "Who do you want me to take out?" And they're like, "Oh, not in front of the kids." He says, "Why, is it one of them?" He says, "I'll see you guys later."
Yeah.
So the best parts of the trailer I thought were already in the first one. The first one already sold me on it. I think the movie's going to be really funny. I'm excited about seeing it, but not really thrilled with the second trailer itself. I don't know, Dennis, what about you?
I love Kristen Wiig. I think Zach Galifianakis is hilarious. I think this trailer is terrible. I didn't laugh. Like, I chuckled.
Loved it, meh, terrible.
Yeah, I maybe.
The three bears are once back again. It's a little too warm.
Yeah, I maybe semi-chuckled a couple times. The time that you mentioned, and then I think the time when Leslie Jones is in there, and Kristen Wiig was like,
Leslie
"Hey."
Jones is just hilarious.
Yeah, when she's like, "Oh, like something about you two guys or whatever." But the rest of it just wasn't funny to me. And it just looks like, you talked about Zach Galifianakis in Birdman. He was so great because he's playing something totally different. He played it straight. He was totally different. This one just seems like he's doing a character he's done a million times before.
Betwixt. I was like, okay, you don't have to go there. We know you like to say the weird words, but
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say that we're either buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what's up?
Despite the fact that several major studios are foregoing this year's Comic-Con in San Diego, several other studios are taking advantage of their absence. Legendary Pictures announced that they are going to be there, and they're bringing along their upcoming films, WARCRAFT, the Guillermo del Toro horror Crimson Peak, and another horror film, Krampus. The studio will also have a booth on the convention floor for autograph signings and other activities as well. Dennis, do you buy or sell Legendary Pictures bringing their slate to Comic-Con?
I buy it. I love that they're bringing their slate and not skipping over. I think they have to remember, obviously, hardcore fan bases are not the huge percentage of like the mainstream audience, but sometimes it's good to get out there to get them riled up in order to get people excited for your movie. Especially, like Crimson Peak. I remember last year, I had never heard of it. And Legendary's booth was near your booth, Schnepp. And because I walked over there and checked it out and heard about Crimson Peak, it kind of planted the seeds in my mind so that when the trailer came out later and I saw it, I was much more interested. And I think that's what they want to do. As long as they don't decide to skip over Comic-Con and do their own legendary con, another con that we have to go to, then I'm cool with it.
They'll call it L23.
Yeah.
Schnepp, what do you think?
No, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what they put out for WARCRAFT, as well as some new stuff with Crimson Peak. I'm happy to hear that they're going to be promoting. I think it's a weird thing that companies are pulling out of showing at San Diego Comic-Con, and it's getting political. I think that's the worst possible thing that can happen. So every time I hear the company's like, no, we're going to be there, and we're going to show our support of the fans, of the people who go there and support our movies. So I think it's great.
I think this is a great move because, look, we talk often about Warner Brothers and DC. Now they can really take advantage of Marvel not being there. But remember, it's not just Marvel. Marvel's not going to be there. There's Sony and Paramount. Paramount, the other three. A company like Legendary is now sitting back, licking their lips, and it's like the amount of pop that they're now going to be able to get, because WARCRAFT is going to kill at Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah.
I think Crimson Peak, because it's a Guillermo del Toro film, is going to kill at Comic-Con. Krampus is a little bit of a question mark for me. I know a lot of people really like Trick or Treat. I did not.
I like Trick or Treat, so I'm actually looking forward to Krampus, and I love Krampus.
It's
I love
a great
the story
concept,
of Krampus.
though. Yeah.
I was like waiting to see a movie of Krampus. It's great.
Yeah, but in general, them taking advantage of this, a lot of the other studios need to take advantage of this. You have 3 big hitters not going. That gives you a lot more of the spotlight, and I think they are going to crush it and kill it. And I think you're going to get guys at Marvel. You're going to get guys at, well, Marvel may have other agendas, which we already know, but you're going to get people at Sony and Paramount going, I think maybe we made a mistake by not being there, because look at the pop that WARCRAFT is getting. Look at the pop that some of these other films are getting because of our absence. And so I really buy it. This is a great move for them. All right, what's next?
According to reports, actor Arnold Schwarzenegger has lined up his next project in the form of a revenge film called 478. 478 follows Schwarzenegger as a man whose wife and children are killed in a plane crash that has resulted from the actions of a negligent air traffic controller. Although the controller is arrested and placed in protective custody, Schwarzenegger's character has plans for revenge. It's also being noted that the film will not be so much an action film as it will a more character-driven movie. John, do you buy or sell the sounds of 478?
I actually really buy this. I think this sounds rather fascinating to me. Like an incident like that, and there's somebody's fault, and you get a bereaved, family member who wants revenge, and that bereaved family member just happens to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not good to be you. And it reminds me a little bit of that little film he did about a year and a half ago. What was it called? Sabotage.
Right.
That most people did not like. I thought it had some redeeming qualities, but one of the things I liked about the film, even though it overall wasn't all that good, was the driven, Arnold Schwarzenegger guy who's just driven about pure vengeance. When you get to the end of that film, you realize this was just all about vengeance. Right. And he played it really well on that level, So this concept actually sounds really good to me. I'm on board. For me, it's a buy. Dennis?
I buy it as well. I think the premise, is what brings me in. And also, I didn't see the movie, but I had heard that Maggie, his last movie,
the zombie one,
wasn't that great, but his performance was actually decent, where he actually brought in his acting chops into the dramatic, and it looks like he's doing the same. And this is under Darren Aronofsky's production company, Protozoa. I doubt he's going to direct it, but the fact that it's under his company gives me hope for it. So I buy it.
Could you imagine the buzz if Aronofsky
Oh
said,
my
I'm
God.
going to direct Schwarzenegger in this?
Yeah, I would go. I would love it even more.
Well, I'm going to sell it. If Aronofsky comes on board, I will buy it. But at this point with the synopsis, I'm like, this air traffic controller better be like on drugs, drunk, yelling like, yeah, the plane crashed, and like
the South will rise again.
Yeah, it better be. It's got to be that extreme for me to get behind. Like somebody like, I'm going to take that guy out because he murdered everybody. It's like, if it's just a mistake, then it's like it could up the ante. He's in protective custody, and you've got someone like Schwarzenegger trying to take him out. But to me, it just sounds a little too cartoony.
I'm the opposite of you, though. I kind of hope that it's not such a like he did it on purpose or was like totally an idiot. Like that it was a mistake, because I think that makes the dilemma even harder.
Well, see, I agree with you, because I think if this was going to just be a balls to the wall kind of action film where I'm going to get him, then it's got to be like the way you're explaining. Mm-hmm. This guy has to be. It's not just negligence. It was like almost borderline. He meant to do it, right? But I think if you really wanted to make it a character-driven story where you get more into like the psyche of a human being in desperate grief and pain, and you want to blame somebody, and you get a character who now has not just lost his wife but his child. We can be capable of unspeakable things when in grief.
Also, flipping that, maybe the air traffic controller is under his own grief and like tells them the wrong coordinates on purpose. Because he's going through something. Who knows? I'm getting on a plane literally in 2 hours. I shouldn't even be talking about stuff like this. I love air traffic controllers. Did anybody ever mention that? Everybody who's in charge of anything to do with planes, I love you guys.
All right, what's next?
The first trailer for the upcoming final installment of the Paranormal Activity series, Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension, has hit the web. Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension centers on the Fleege family who move into a house and discover a video camera and a box of tapes in the garage. When they look through the camera's lens, they begin to see the paranormal activity happening around them, including the reemergence of young Christy and Katie. Schnapp, do you buy or sell the trailer for Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension?
I'm gonna hard sell this. I'm just totally tired of this entire genre. I mean, you know, even the ending with like ripping off Silent Hill, like, you know, going through doors and into other dimensions. I just think visually it's kind of tired and boring to me. It's like, how many more times are you going to see some guy like and then get pulled away out of the camera frame? It's just the same tricks and boring. To me, I'm bored out of my skull watching that. Watching that trailer was just every single rote thing that I've seen in every single other one of these paranormal, like handheld garbage films. So sorry. I mean, it could be fantastic, and I will eat my words if I see this film and I was like, I started crying. I was so scared. I felt I was literally in a ghost dimension. I will say I'm sorry to all the filmmakers, but right now it just seems mechanical to me.
Yeah, you just described my mentality before hitting play on the trailer. It's like, oh, are we doing this again? And I'm sure it's the final installment. I like the trailer. Well, I was color me shocked, surprised, whatever, but I have to call it as I see it. I watch the trailer and I have to admit it kind of creeped me out. You know, when the little girls are on the video camera and they realize that was filmed 20 years ago, and they realize
that part was great.
They're talking to them like, okay, and then that whole device, hey, look at this old video camera. And when you look through it, you can see things you can't normally see. It reminds me a little bit of the Roddy Piper film They Live, right? When you put on the glasses and they can see. So it reminded me a little bit of that. But by the end of the trailer, look, it looks like it has high potential for awfulness. The awfulness potential here is off the scale. But watching the trailer, it got me intrigued. I wanted to see more. I felt a little bit creeped out by it. I don't like any of the Paranormal Activity films really outside of the first one. Right. But I got to call it as I see it. I'm going to give it a buy.
I'm going to sell it like
I thought
Schnapp.
so.
You know what? I like the original Paranormal Activity, but like I didn't need to see a sequel, and they've done like 52 of them now, and this one just doesn't...
53.
Okay. But this one just doesn't look any different from any of the other sequels, at least from the trailer standpoint. And yeah, I also don't believe it's the final one, right?
Oh, no,
Come on.
No way.
Even the last one, which didn't do as well as the other ones, only cost $5 million to make, and it made $90 million worldwide. Who's not going to come back? This just means they're taking a break. Take like a 5-6 year break, and there's going to be another Paranormal Activity Origins or Begins or whatever the hell it is.
Side ghost dimension.
Yeah, so I don't care for it.
All right. Well, folks, we reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Right now, we're going to go to Sinead, who's got the questions pulled out. So, Sinead, what do we got?
Jonah Krause writes, do you think it's possible for a remake of an original movie to win Best Picture? What about a remake of a movie that already won Best Picture? Say if they remade The Godfather and it was great and Best Picture worthy by far. Would the Academy honor it and give it Best Picture or not, because that story has already been honored at the Oscars? Thanks, guys.
Well, as far as the question of could a remake win Best Picture, I'm going to guess yes, because it's already happened. The Departed was actually a remake of Infernal Affairs, and it won Best Picture, won Martin Scorsese his first ever directing Academy Award as well. So can that happen? Absolutely. There's precedence that's happened before. Could it happen to a film that already once won Best Picture? I believe the possibility is there, absolutely. But remember, it's a 1 in 900 chance, no matter what. About 900 eligible films get produced every single year that are eligible for the Oscars. So it's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance any film you make is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars. So this would be no different. But since it has happened before, there's precedence for it. Absolutely, it's possible. Look, you remake The Godfather, and say, get James Cameron decides he's going to remake The Godfather, whatever himself. Hey, look, the story's solid enough. You get the right actors in there with the James Cameron at the helm. It really becomes a possibility. I don't know that it'll ever happen, though, because, you know, the odds are so slim. But it can, and it might. Could we see that happen?
I would love to see James Cameron do it, The Godfather, but with all the Avatar fit people. Everybody's blue, but it's The Godfather. That would be pretty insane, you know. What are those creatures called? The Na'vi?
The Na'vi?
The Na'vi, yeah. The Na'vi father. something like that.
Father.
Yeah, you know what? It could happen. I don't know. I mean, as far as a film that won an Oscar, like it depends on how old it was, you know, how far away the memory was. And then if this new version of it kind of, it's a weird question to me, because if it is a remake of a film that made an Oscar or won an Oscar, this new remake, unless it's like, you know, page by page, shot by shot, a remake, it's going to be a different film. So it's, you know, even though it's the same story, it's being told by different people, acted by different people. So it's technically just like The Thing has been remade multiple times. We have movies that are remade all the time. Yeah. It's just how Hollywood is. It's a constant. You say, hey, we don't remember. A lot of people don't remember that movie that was out 30 years ago or 60 years ago. It was in black and white. Let's make a new version of it. Change the title a little bit. No one even remembers those films. So I don't know. I think it's totally possible. And it's like you said, it's already happened.
So yeah, Remake has already won, but I think remaking a movie that has already won the Oscar, that's a tough hill to climb, because now you have a movie that's well known amongst a lot of people, and a lot of people have seen it before, and they're going to compare it to the original, fairly or unfairly. They're always going to compare it to the original that already won an Oscar. So it has to be, if someone remade a movie that won an Oscar, it has to be maybe the same premise, but totally different direction, a different perspective. That way viewers can watch it and go, oh, wow, they did it and they kept the spirit, but at the same time brought something totally new to it.
All right, what's next?
Marcel writes, so Tom Holland has beaten the competition and is going to be introduced in Captain America Civil War. What role do you think he will have now that a Spider-Man has been found with just under a year to still go until the movie releases? Keep up the good work.
It's funny because, first of all, I'd be remiss on my final AMC Movie Talk if I didn't bring this up one more time. This story reminds me a lot of the fact about why, because some people say, John, why do you always have to say, remember, this isn't confirmed? Because just a couple of weeks ago, all the websites were reporting that Asa Butterfield had been cast as Spider-Man. And now here we're talking about what kind of role do you think Holland's Spider-Man is going to be? That's why we always go out of our way whenever it's not from the studio itself, and we say, look, this is not confirmed, don't forget, because everybody ran amok with Butterfield as Spider-Man. Turns out he's not. It's the same issue, though, that we've had for a while. It's like, remember, it's not a matter of, Civil War being a year away. It's a matter that Civil War has already been filming for 2 months. How big of a role could Spider-Man possibly have in the film when they've already been making this film for months? I think it's going to be what I call a present role. It's not going to be a cameo. I think it'll be more along the lines of a Don Cheadle in Avengers 2. So I think it'll be substantive. He'll be there, but it will not be one of the 5 or 6 main characters or anything like that. But he will have a presence in the film, much like War Machine had in Avengers 2. But I don't think it's going to be a quick little cameo or anything like that. But once again, it's not going to be major because they've already been making the movie for so long. So that's just the way I see it. It would be cool to see if it was a little bit bigger. I just don't see how you do it at this point when you've already been rolling the lenses for this long. What do you think?
Yeah, I think even if they hadn't been filming for this long, I don't know if he would play such a big role. Because remember in the comic book version, Civil War, he's an older Peter Parker. He's married. And when he does the reveal of his secret identity, that's a very big deal in the context of the comic books. But in this, we haven't seen him. He hasn't existed. I mean, yeah, he had his movies, but this is a new Spider-Man. So he technically has not been seen in this the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right. And so him doing the same thing will not have the same impact. Like if this new guy shows up and goes, I'm Peter Parker, in that universe, everyone's going to be like, who? Yeah. We don't know who Spider-Man is really in this universe. So I don't think he's going to play a big role.
And don't forget, too, that in the comics storyline, one of the key subplots of that whole storyline was which side will Spider-Man go on, back and forth. We already know that Marvel is making Black Panther that character. Yeah, they brought out, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans on stage and they had Black Panther in the middle, and they were both kind of tugging on his arm. Clearly, he's going to be that focal point. And in this new movie version, we know the issue is not secret identity. Yeah. So it's not going to have that iconic scene in the comic books when Spider-Man takes off the mask in front of the press. I'm Peter Parker, right? That scene's not going to be there because that's not an issue here. So anyway, Schnepp, how big of a role do you think he's going to play?
I think, like you said, I think it'll be a couple scenes, but I think this is a great way to introduce the character of Peter Parker into the Marvel universe, not make a big stand or pick a side on which side is he going to be on, Cap or Iron Man. But I definitely see you're going to see, because Kevin Feige's already said Spider-Man's around. We just haven't shown him. He's swinging around. He's already Spider-Man. So I definitely see Spider-Man showing up. maybe him having something with Cap having a like a talk about take off your mask, or the Registration Act could actually still play a role in it, because I really think that even though a lot of people, they know who Steve Rogers is, they know who Tony Stark is, they're like, no one wear masks, no one's gonna get to wear masks, and Spider-Man's like, catch me, you know what I mean, like, and then you see him later and you see him like in high school or something. I think they're just gonna weave it in a certain way. So,
well, John, you weren't on yesterday's show. What are your thoughts on him being cast and the director, who don't really know?
Yeah, I mean, look, with as far as Holland goes, I don't know. I mean, I know this. He's an actor, and he's been an actor. He's very young, but he's been an actor most of his life. And he's put in some good stuff, but we haven't seen a lot from him yet. But we know he's a legit actor. So I'm fine with it. I was really fine with just about anybody they brought on. I would have been fine with Butterfield. I would have been fine with any number of the other candidates. I think he has potential to be really good. With the director, I didn't realize. At first, I was like, "What the hell? You're going to hand a franchise like Spider-Man to this dude who hasn't really done anything?" But I didn't realize at the time that he does have a film in the can that's already getting a lot of very positive buzz. So it's very reminiscent. You mentioned the Mark Webb situation. It's very reminiscent of that, where he had like one really good film. Now, some people may say, and you guys might touch on this yesterday, that well, he doesn't have any experience making a big action, whatever sort of film. Okay, be that as it may, but neither had Colin Trevorrow before he did Jurassic World, right? Neither had James Gunn before he did Guardians of the Galaxy. And it reminds me, when we had Kevin Feige, president of Marvel, on our show, I asked him, I said, were you worried about getting a guy like James Gunn involved because he's never done a big budget thing like this? And Kevin Feige simply said, looked at me and goes, a guy who can tell a great story is a guy who can tell a great story. Doesn't matter if it's a $500,000 budget or $500 million budget. If you can tell a great story, you can tell a great story. And if they're all looking at this picture he's done for Sundance, which we have not seen yet, and they said, wow, this dude can tell a great story, then it makes sense. And look, remember, Marvel has done that as well with guys like the Russo brothers, who had done nothing but
comedy.
Yeah, what's the TV show?
Community.
Was it Community?
Yeah,
They did? The Community and a couple of others. Like, when we all sat back and went, these guys? Well, apparently they have a great eye, because that worked out. This is clearly a Sony hire. I mean, we looked at this. Remember, we were sitting when we saw this? We both sat back and goes, well, this is clearly a Sony kind of a hire, but maybe it'll work out. So I feel pretty good about it. All right, what's next?
Frankie writes, what are your thoughts on the rumor that the Green Lantern movie will focus on 3 Green Lanterns? Why do you think they chose to do 3 and not 4? Maybe that leaves out either Kyle Rayner or Guy Gardner, but most likely Rayner. Do you think that there's any truth to this rumor, and do you like the idea of a Green Lantern Corps movie instead of just focusing on one specific lantern?
Well, first of all, I don't believe the rumor. I don't believe it. But it's an interesting concept. Let's play with it for a second. Sure. Let's assume, okay, the rumor's true. As far as the question, why 3, not 4? Well, if they did 4, then we can go, why 4, not 5? Right. Why
I
2,
personally
not
want
3?
7.
Yeah, I mean, you could. The idea is interesting, because the Green Lantern Corps, a lot of people would say that the best parts of the most recent Green Lantern movie was revolving around when we were talking about the Corps. There's a lot you can do there. You could almost build a cinematic universe within a cinematic universe just with the Green Lantern Corps.
Right.
Now, I've always said the true definitive Green Lantern is Hal Jordan. That's who the Green Lantern is. But there are a lot of fans out there for Jon Stewart. And there are a lot of fans out there for whether it's Kyle Rayner or whether it's Guy Gardner or stuff like that. Right. Hell, Kilowog is really popular too. The interesting thing here is that doing something like this means you have the opportunity to go, okay, yeah, clearly Green Lantern needs to be Hal Jordan, but guess what? Now we've created a scenario where we can also have Jon Stewart. Fans of Guy Gardner and the redhead hothead, sure, we can have him in there too. So it actually opens up a lot of possibilities to them. If I were in charge of Warner Brothers, would I say do a multiple Green Lantern? I don't know, but I know there's enough cool things about it that I would definitely consider. It's an interesting proposal. What do you think?
Well, I think the Green Lantern Corps is a really unique opportunity. They're the space police, basically. And they did a good introduction to them in what was overall a bad film. Those were the best parts, when Hal Jordan was over on Oa training with Sinestro, and all those moments and scenes were really like, wow, this is kind of fun. And they're opening up this entire outer space universe. Oh wait, he has to go back and fight a big brown cloud. So it's like, forget about all that cool stuff. He's going to be on Earth doing that stuff. So
You mean the poo cloud?
yeah, the poo cloud. You know, guys, we're talking about the poo cloud.
Yes, hashtag poo cloud.
Hashtag poo cloud. Yeah, but I would love to see something that was kind of almost like different tales, stories going on, or interweaving like something in outer space with Hal Jordan, back on Earth, Jon Stewart, and then Gardner shows up to ruin everything. So you could basically kind of have three different, you know, Green Lanterns, so to speak, if you wanted to work it that way, where Jordan is like, look, I got an extra ring. I've trained in Stewart, but then Gardner shows up and messes everything up and also gets a ring at the end of the movie. Who knows what they're going to do? Anything would be better than that first one.
You know how we've been talking about we need to take off to Vegas one long weekend and just pound out like a script, right? For like start to finish script, just get one out there. Space Police.
Yeah,
so that's it. You just got Space
Bam.
Police. Okay.
Doing it.
I'm all for the Green Lantern Corps movie for the same reasons you guys said. I don't want to see Kyle Rayner though. I don't really care for his character. He was like a freelance graphic designer out here that lived in like Hollywood or something like that, and he didn't even get chosen for the ring. It was like he was like the first guy the Last Guardian ran into and said, what did he say? Something like, you'll have to do or something, and gave it to us. Like, I don't want that guy to be.
Right.
Did you ever read Injustice Gods Among Us?
No.
Kyle Rayner is in it for like 3 or 4, and smiling because he's read this too. She's in it for like 2.5 pages. It's like Kyle Rayner coming back from sector 0755472, having just saved a race of beings out there, and he gets back to Earth, and in 2 pages, Sinestro shows up with a few other yellow dudes, and they just rip him apart in space, and he's dead. He's in Injustice, like this 80-issue thing for like 2 pages, and they kill him. Hey, was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Was that it? Oh, okay, that's it. Well, folks, that will do it for this installment of AMC Mailbag. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is my last episode of AMC Movie Talk. I don't want to go on too much about it here, but you know, Anne's here. Anne, can I get you to come over here? Anne came to support me to be here for our last show. But don't tell anybody. The people at Hasbro think she's working.
Yeah.
So,
I saw her working on some stuff.
Hasbro
It's all top
thinks Anne
secret.
is working on the new Star Wars line. Anyway, I wanted to thank. I just want to say thank you to AMC, and in particular, a couple guys over there in leadership at AMC, starting with Steven, who's the CMO there, has always been very supportive of us. Our vice president, Brent, who I was able to develop a really good relationship with. We got Shane over there, who's the director of our whole department. Justin Gardner is no longer with AMC, but you know, the guy who originally recruited me to come to AMC was a partner of ours for a very, very long time. Obviously, I work with the best team of people in the world in this business. I have no false humility about this. I have no anything. This group of people is the best in the world in what we do in this space. And I'm honored every day to work with them with the support of an incredibly supportive spouse who lets me kind of just, you know, do all these ridiculous things that a 5-year-old would do. I have an incredible team, an incredible group of people, and we have the most incredible viewers and fans. You guys have been so supportive and so great, and I appreciate it so much. I have actually, probably in about an hour, I'm signing the new contract for my new endeavor. I will let you know what that is, probably in the next 2 or 3 days, but you can watch for me there. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys in the room, to you guys at the table, to you, the most amazing woman in the world. Thank you guys so much. And that being said, don't forget, guys, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, the birthday boy, soon to be heavily intoxicated, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
Well, first I want to say thanks and say that we appreciate all the work, the hard work you've done for AMC Movie News, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and I'm sure in the future we'll work together again.
7 years you and I have been working together on various things. And of course, over here, getting ready to get on a plane, hopefully with a really mentally sound, happy with his life air traffic controller at the helm,
Please.
Mr. John Schnepp. Where can people find you online?
To all you people who are air traffic controllers, you can find me at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH on Twitter and Instagram. And you can check out my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, going to www.tdoslwh.com. Sorry, it's a TDOSLWH.
QM74.
TDOSLWH.com, and you can pre-order the movie. It comes out July 9th. I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, but this weekend I'll be in Florida, in Miami at the SuperCon, so come say hi. And John, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this amazing show. I love coming and doing this and doing the news with you guys. I'm sure we'll be hanging out in the future very soon, and that's all I've got to say about that.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you online?
I'm on all social media and YouTube at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com. And I just want to say it's been like literally one exact year since I got my very first ever hosting job on the Pretty Little Liars after show that Campia hired me on. So he is the only one that has ever hired me for anything. I got 3 shows under him now. So thank you so much. You've always believed in me, and I can't wait to work with you again. Sure will.
And I still do. And you are going to be, one of these days, the rest of us are going to be like, I remember when we worked with Sinead DeFries when nobody knew who she was.
Oh, nice.
And of course, you guys can follow me on my social media here. Follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Follow me at John Campion. I'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on with me. So for AMC Movie News, folks, for my last time, thank you so much for joining us. And until Dennis does it next time, bye-bye.